Hello. Today I'd like to talk a bit about the UK economy and why we are on the verge of entering into recession. Since 1992, the UK economy has been experiencing a long period of economic growth. It is the longest on record, and to a large extent the government, well, if not the government, the economy avoided a boom and bust situation which characterised the UK economy, especially in the 1980s. But now we are entering into a recession, and many people are saying why and who is to blame, if anybody. Well, firstly, this is a different recession to the last time. The last recession in 1991 was a classic boom and bust. In the late 80s, the economy grew too quickly. It caused inflation, and then to reduce inflation and slow economic growth, we had a deep recession. Interest rates rose to double figures, 12%. On one day, they rose to 15%. And it was this high interest rates and falling house prices that pushed the economy into recession. But today's recession is quite different. Interest rates aren't high. In fact, they're quite low. And the causes stem from a number of factors. Firstly, we have the subprime credit crisis, which has affected the whole global financial system. Very briefly, US mortgage companies made a lot of bad loans that people soon started to default on. And unfortunately, they also sold these mortgage loans to other reputable or supposedly reputable banks around the world. So everybody has in some way been affected, because it's not just the US mortgage companies who lost money, but also the investment banks who lent to the mortgage companies. And then suddenly there was a shortage of finance. Banks didn't want to lend to each other because there's all these bad debts in the system. And then the problem is that commercial banks, Bradford and Bingley, Northern Rock, HBOS, they all had a business plan which relied on borrowing money from other banks. Their mortgage business was financed by borrowing to lend. So when there was a subprime crisis and a shortage of funds, you have real problems in the banking sector, and we see banks really struggling to survive and requiring bailouts or mergers. So what this did is very difficult to get a mortgage. So demand for houses fell. Prices of houses have fallen quite a lot. In America, they've been falling for 2 years. In the UK, for 1 year. And when house prices fall, this has the effect of generally to reduce consumer spending. Housing is an important form of wealth, and if people see that wealth decreasing, they tend to spend less. Certainly, consumer spending isn't benefiting from the mortgage equity withdrawal, which occurred in the boom period of 2000 to 2006. So as well as the falling house prices, shortage of credit, and general impact on confidence of a collapsing stock market, there have been other factors. One important one is the cost-push inflation. Rising oil prices, rising food prices, rising energy prices. And these rising prices haven't really been met by rising wages. People have seen their disposable income squeezed by the rising prices and quite low wage increases. And it's interesting that many people are suspicious of the official inflation figures. They feel that their personal inflation is much higher. So you've got this combination of factors reducing demand, and this is causing slow growth, and unemployment is starting to rise. For example, Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt and makes a lot of people unemployed in the city. And of course, once firms start making people unemployed, there's a multiplier effect, a negative multiplier effect. There are quite a few stories about when Lehman Brothers made people laid off. It affected a whole range of people. The local bars, the local dog walking services, all these business will dry up because the Lehman Brothers executives no longer have a job. So there's a knock-on effect throughout the economy. There are quite a few other factors which are exacerbating the downturn, but I think the main ones at the moment are the credit crisis, the shortage of finance, falling house prices, and rising cost-push inflation, which has squeezed consumers' incomes. So I'm afraid that 2009 will be probably a bad year for the economy. Unemployment will rise quite significantly, growth will be probably negative, and government borrowing will have to increase quite a lot. Inflation may probably come under control, but it's only a scant return when you've got rising unemployment and a recession. Anyway, thank you.